who I chose was James Agee. Because he's a man who didn't do what he was told, which is always a pleasure to me. Back in 1936, a government agency said, go down to the South and do kind of a journalistic piece on white tenant families, poor families in the South. And instead of having the good journalistic distance that he was supposed to have, he didn't do that at all. He, with Walker Evans, who was a wonderful photographer, went down and lived with these families and got into their lives, and then wrote the most strangest, night-infused, stream of consciousness type of work that was anything so not like any kind of news report that you would have about families. And so I'm going to read a little bit, and then a piece of his that inspired me. So he went down, and there were 3 tenant families and 3 houses that they lived in. And this is the first little part called On the Porch, because he's on the porch and he has to get inside. The house and all that was in it had now descended deep beneath the gradual spiral it had sunk through. It lay formal under the order of entire silence. In the square pine room at the back, the bodies of the man of 30 and of his wife and of their children lay on shallow mattresses on their iron beds and on the rigid floor, and they were sleeping, and the dog lay asleep in the hallway. Most human beings, most animals and birds who live in the sheltering ring of human existence, and a great portion of all of the branched tribes of living in earth and air and water upon the half of the earth, were stunned with sleep. That region of the earth on which we are at this time transient was some hours fallen beneath the fascination of the stone, steady shadow of the planet, and lay now listing toward the last depth, and now by a blockade of the sun was clearly disclosed those discharges of light which teach us what little we can learn of the stars and of the true nature of our surroundings. There was no longer any sound of the settling or ticking of any part of the structure of the house. The bone pine hung on its nails like an abandoned Christ. There was no longer any sound of the sinking and the settling, like gently foundering fatal boats, of the bodies and brains of this human family through the late stages of fatigue unharnessed or the early phases of sleep, nor was there any longer the sense of any of these sounds, nor was there even the sound or the sense of breathing. Bone and bone, blood and blood, life and life, disjointed and abandoned, they lay graven in so final depth that dreams attend them seemed not plausible. Fish halted on the middle and serene of blind seawater, sleeping lidless lensed, their breathing, their sleeping subsistence, the effortless nursing of ignorant plants, entirely silenced sleepers, delicate planets, insects, cherished in amber, mirrored in night, autumn of action, sorrow's short winter, waterhole where gather the wild, weak beasts, night, night, sleep, sleep. A journalistic report. You know, New York Times does stuff like that. You know, Washington Post. You read him and you go further, and it's wild stuff. It goes on and on and on. He writes it mostly at night. And the thing that, how it inspired me is that I read his work and kind of go under. You have to go under the influence, or else you're lost to it. And I had a piece that I've been trying to write for a long time, and it was about 3 families. And 3 families who lived in the Lower Haight, when the Lower Haight was not so, what shall we say, up and coming? And they lived in a house that you couldn't see from the street. And so I had to get from the street through a doorway to their house, as he had to get from the porch into those lives and those houses. So my piece is called Big Wheels. The door looks like any number of doors you'll find on this street, unpainted, kicked in, unsecured, but secure enough to provide a thin barrier between life outside, with its junkies and pushers and weekend hipsters looking for a little taste, and life inside, home sweet goddamn home. Embroidered needlepoint in a frame, the tiny crosshatch of stitches like the crosshatch of blue marks on an arm. Home where you might expect to find doilies on an overstuffed chair, china teacups with hand-painted roses, home with nothing smells lovin' like something from the oven, and where there's safety and quiet and peace, a heaven, a haven. Well, this is not quite like that. Fit your key in the door, the scratched on, written on, sprayed on door. Tagging is a way to decorate your room when your room is the street. Without that embroidery, this door would be blank like the blank walls of hotel rooms where they find dead rock stars and Hollywood starlets. Go ahead, look at the walls of Maryland or Janice's last room. A blank wall comes right before the big drop-off, the big surprise. A blank wall is a deadly thing. Turn the key in the lock, walk inside, enter a narrow passageway, dark and close and damp. Get hit with that smell. Well, it isn't roses now, is it? That smell of someone who found relief. Hold your breath, for soon you'll be past the smell. We'll come out of the tunnel into the garbage-strewn yard where no grass grows, just weeds, yellow weeds, weeds with spindly arms, weeds with stickers that scratch and bite. And there in the weeds, a broken squirt gun, and there a broken tricycle, and there a black plastic bag full of who knows what, and never a lawn to lay down on, to stretch out and dig your toes in the soft grass, to pull up a blade and place it between your lips and taste that sweet taste. Rising up out of the weeds, looming up, a wooden building you'd never see from the street, 3 floors tall with a rickety flight of stairs going from the ground floor to the second, from the second floor to the third. An unkept building, a falling down building, a building like a ship on a sea of trash, sitting in the middle of vacant lots, broken down lots, easeways with no ease, all the untended backyards that form a graveyard for old stoves and tires and bags of garbage, and where yarrow and stinkweed and dandelion grow, and creatures that roam in the underbrush. A world you'd never see from the street. You'd never know this was behind the locked door that people peed against. A building like a ship on a sea of trash, of weeds grown tall and golden, and above all this, the quilt of night stars. 3 flights up lives a grandmother with 2 grandchildren that she's raising for her daughter, the crack addict. The last time her daughter fell off the wagon, she was told to leave and never come back. But sometimes she still comes back. You can find her there in the doorway, on the street, where she's forgotten her key, or eaten it, or given it to someone for a toke. Here's the key to my house. And when her daughters ask their grandmother, "Where did our mother go?" she replies, "Your mother is gone from the world. She just drifted away." The girls have a game they play. They take a plastic milk jug, an empty jug, and throw it down the outside stairs. It bangs its plastic fall, makes the sound an empty plastic milk jug makes on a flight of stairs, and they yell, "Bombs away." Then one of them tromps down the stairs, retrieves the jug, and tromps back up, yelling all the way, "I've got it, I've got it." And then they throw it down again. On the ground floor lives a single mother with 3 children, 2 toddlers and a 6-year-old. She screams at her children all day long, screams the first thing in the morning and the last thing at night. The twins run around without their bottoms on and pee and poop wherever they want to. The 6-year-old keeps her clothes on. Sometimes you can hear the mother yell, "Pack your bags, I never want to see your face again." So the girl keeps an overnight kit in a paper bag by the front door, just in case. Once, a woman who lives in a nearby storefront decided to intervene. She was French, very French, ooh la la. Though she lives in a hovel, she has style. She wears a little jaunty scarf tied around her neck, and you could see her in Marseille. This Frenchy-looking one came out of her storefront, her ramshackle, broken-down, messed-up storefront, walked across the dead lawn that isn't a lawn, and knocked on the mother's door. In her sweetest voice, she said, "Listen to me. You should change your tune. Sing instead of scream. Sing." On the second floor, sandwiched between the upstairs and the downstairs, and no, this isn't a PBS series set in merry old England where those china teacups belong. Sandwiched between the upstairs and the downstairs lives a woman trying to study. In the middle of all this, in the middle. She is studying Chinese, ne hong ma, the musical notes of that word, the high note, the low. She is trying to study, but she can't hear herself. So she waits until nighttime for the children to go to bed, for the mother to stop screaming, for the grandmother who's deaf and cannot hear to turn the TV down. But at midnight, it's showtime at the Apollo, and that's on the tube. Grandma turns it up full blast. The granddaughters put on roller skates and skate back and forth to the music, back and forth across the uncarpeted floor upstairs. The rolling, bowling sound falls down from the ceiling onto the woman's head. And even with all that, she can still hear the singer sing. He's singing about love and happiness. Love and happiness. Tonight, there'll be no sleep. There's never any sleep. And tell me now, who's that playing at the Apollo tomorrow night? One cold morning, white with fog, upstairs a rumbling sound, someone's getting up. Downstairs the sounds of kids laughing, the mother screaming. A plastic jug comes banging down the stairs. A Christmas morning, just like any other. Where are the candy canes? The lights on the Christmas tree? The tree? Where's the new red wagon? Who has fallen off the wagon again? That evening, someone who knows who leaves a big box on the doorsteps downstairs. A big box with a picture of happy kids on the front riding their big wheels. Maybe the toddlers think that those children are inside, having fun inside the box. The mother can't assemble a thing or won't, so all the parts remain within. The wheel, the seat, the high handlebars, all that pretty plastic. An hour later, the woman on the second floor comes down, drags the box inside, finds a knife, slits the cardboard, opens the box. All the children gather around her on the living room rug as she puts the big wheels together while the mother is screaming in the other room. When she's finished, she stoops and kisses their cheeks goodnight. She whispers, "Sleep tight." As she's walking upstairs, she wonders, what does it mean to sleep tight? Now it's the middle of the night, and she's awake. Somewhere, people are sleeping. Somewhere they're far away in their dreams, in the clouds, or on an island, or in a meadow. She wants to join them, to sleep, to slumber. Slumber. How soft and how lovely the world. The word, let's go slumming off to slumber. She sits up in bed, looks out the bedroom window. The sky is empty of planes, jets, gnats of light. The sky is as clean as a slate, a blank, a swept path, empty but for the moon, a night light with no dimmer, casting light out on this black sea as she is cast out from any chance of dreaming. If she stays on watch, she'll never sleep again. She'll be awake forever. She tosses and she turns. The building tosses and turns like a ship on the high seas. And quick, someone toss out a life ring to catch whoever is floating out there. All of us are at sea, she thinks. Grandma and the granddaughters and the mother and the toddlers, the 6-year-old, Frenchie, the one who drifted away, the children in the box. All of us are at sea. She hears a noise from down below, someone crying out in their sleep, a cry that slips out of the cracks in the wall, the crack in the window, past the newsprint stuffed in the crack to keep the cold from blowing in. What was the story on the newspaper that day? Something about the cost of heating going up. The cry goes out to the surrounding field, and the wild dogs hear, and they recognize something animal in the cry, and they howl in return. She stops, listens. There's another sound, a reply, then another, and another. Are the sounds coming from the field or the street? Is it the high wire buzz of the crickets or a tire screech? The booming bass of the frogs or the bass beat of a boombox? Is he singing? The drug on a tear, singing. His bottle's high shatter, singing. The woman on the stoop, singing. The addict in the tunnel, singing, not screaming. Singing, not screaming. Everybody joining in. Upstairs, the girls put on their skates and start to roll back and forth, with the voices of the Apollo ringing out, with Al Green's love ringing out, rocking and rolling on the sea. In the field, the mice are singing. On the street, the sirens singing. Listen, can you hear it? the song from an aerosol can, each sprayed letter's high note, singing, singing. She looks out at the golden field in the moonlight, where rabbits and mice, raccoons and skunks hurry by. Above her, the stars are whirling across the great big wheel of the night sky. And with all of this and all of this, the singing and the screaming, everyone on the ship and everyone on the sea falls deeply, deeply asleep.